Welcome back to another Pokemon What If Wednesday, where every Wednesday morning we go through last week's investing and collecting questions, where your guys' questions will actually be featured in the video, and one person's question will help me make the thumbnail every single week. So please drop your questions down below for a chance to be in next week's video, and if I did comment to you saying great question, I might use this and I didn't, please drop that same question again and put repeat question and get moved to the top. And I'm not saying I'm some guru who just knows everything, but when I'm unsure, I like to talk it out with a few people. It always helps me make my final decision, and I have been in the hobby since it started, so I've been here for a very long time. And we do have to give a quick thanks to our video sponsor, and that is METATCG. I did all the research, and I found it's the best possible website for you guys to trade your bulk in for some super rare cards or sell it for cash. You get even more if you trade it in for store credit. They are located in Arlington, Texas, so definitely check them out. And it is so easy to fill out the Pokemon bulk submission. You just literally put exactly how many cards you have of each thing. They do have to be near mint, and they have a video showing you how to package up everything. And the dude's got a nice beard, so you know he's legit. So definitely check them out. I'll have all the links in the description. And of course, PSA for your first time, click the link, use the code BEARD25, get $25 off, and same thing with tag. You can use the code BEARD102 to get 10% off your first submission. All right, first question. This is from Jason Hoffman. Brand new to collecting Pokemon. What would you suggest for first sets to try to collect? So it's actually pretty tough nowadays just because everything is so expensive. All the illustration rares are expensive. My normal answer would always be Crown Zenith. You know, that is a super fun set to master set from beginning to end. All the cards are beautiful, but right now, Crown Zenith is like the most expensive it's ever been. But honestly, so is all the other cards. So Crown Zenith is a super fun set to master set. I'm not the biggest fan of actually doing master sets, just because you're going to collect a lot of cards you may not like as much, and it starts to add up really fast, and the odds of everybody doing every master set of every set is just almost impossible. So I literally just collect the illustration rares and special illustration rares for the Scarlet and Violet and Mega Evolution era. And I also probably got to collect the new gold cards, especially Mrs. Beard loves those gold cards. So I'll probably get those too. So that's what I like to do, narrow it down. But honestly, you can just go to any site like this, Pokédata here, look at all the sets and figure out what set is your favorite. You know, what set has your favorite Pokemon in there. And then you could try to go after that set. You know, you don't have to get every single set. You could do, you know, whatever you want. That's the best thing about Pokemon. People also really love to collect their favorite Pokemon. And in my opinion, that is the funnest thing you can do. So figure out your favorite Pokemon and then try to do a master set of that. For a lot of Pokemon, it's actually fairly easy. For Pokemon like Pikachu and Charizard, basically going to be impossible. Same with like Mewtwo and stuff. But like I said, there's hundreds and hundreds of Pokemon that are actually very easy to master set. Where you get every single version of that card. You even got to get the cameos and stuff. It's actually a ton of fun. Especially too, you know, a lot of them could be commons, uncommons. So you're hunting for cards that are literally like $1 or less. Otherwise, 151 is another super fun set, especially if you are a Gen 1 person and you grew up with that. You know, it's not that big, but again, everything is just so expensive. So you definitely have some options. The smaller sets are much easier. You know, something like Phantasmal Flames would be much easier if it didn't have the two very expensive Charizards. You know, Mega Evolution is not too difficult. Prismatic would be super tough. Surging Sparks wouldn't be that difficult. There's a few high-end cards. Twilight's not too bad. Really just has a good ninja. So, yeah, it's so many options, to be honest. Celebrations, another little fun set to collect. Very affordable. And then if we want to go vintage, I still think the Southern Island set is one of the best sets that you can collect. Because, I mean, there's less than 20 cards. Now the Mew is pretty expensive, but honestly, a lot of them are still pretty affordable compared to the rest of vintage. So that is a super fun set that I always recommend people collecting. And then if you do want to go, you know, older too, just think you don't always have to go first edition or Shadowless. You can go unlimited. I always recommend doing first edition. You might as well get the best one if you're collecting it anyways. But still, if you just want the cards, unlimited is super fun and much easier. And I swear, people think it's like 20 grand to complete like an unlimited vintage set. It's not even close to that. It's actually very affordable. Because you got to think about it, it's really just a Charizard that's the most expensive. You know, Raw $619, then Blastoise $230, Venusaur $154, Alakazam $84. This almost looks like a modern set price-wise. And what's really nice about it is the sets are so much smaller. So once you knock out these holos, you know, then you're just talking about non-holo rares. And, you know, they're all very affordable. Dragonair, $16 for probably the most expensive non-holo rare for base set, which I'm very proud of. My favorite card of all time. So yeah, you have plenty of options, but I would really recommend not buying a ton of packs and ripping them open. Maybe if you do find it for MSRP and you want to have some fun, rip open a pack here and there, totally fine. But do not go crazy ripping open packs. You're going to end up with a lot of cards you probably don't even care about that much, and you're going to waste so much money compared to just buying singles, focusing in on a certain set, and actually finishing that set. All right, next is from at Saltine Deluxe. Since it came out, I've been a big fan of Brilliant Stars. I stocked up sealed and loose cards. What are your thoughts on Brilliant Stars and any favorite cards you have from there? So I've actually been talking about Brilliant Stars and how underrated it is for a very, very long time. I honestly feel like it's right up there with Fusion Strike. It has the Charizard versus Venusaur, which is still undervalued in my mind. Then it has Evolutions and Mimikyu for the Trainer Gallery. Also has a Rainbow Charizard and a Full Art Charizard. So, I mean, the set is pretty stacked, but yeah, it has Umbreon VMAX, Umbreon V, Sylveon V, Sylveon VMAX, Mimikyu V, Mimikyu VMAX. It has Vaporeon, Flareon, Jolteon, Eevee, the Galarian birds. I mean, there's just so many things going for this set. And yeah, I genuinely feel like this is one of the most underrated sets in Pokemon today, even though it is kind of expensive. But I mean, it's literally like $100 or $200 more than a lot of Scarlet and Violet era sets. And I mean, there's a ton of awesome cards in there. Next is from Matt K. Nice. Hey Beard, what's with the recent gem pack cards booming? I have a Leafeon and a PSA 10, and I'm wondering if now is the time to sell. So yeah, that's annoying. I was in the process of getting a ton of these in PSA 10s, and yeah, they just started going crazy. Cubone Raw, $318, which is wild. Gengar 200, Umbreon 245. Umbreon used to be 120. I screamed at everybody to buy this card at $120. Same with every Chinese exclusive. Gengar was $80. Cubone was $80. But yeah, I mean, with everything booming right now, it was only a matter of time before these things went crazy. And like I always say, people always talk about how they do not care about the language, they only care about the art. Well, this is all beautiful art of some of the most popular Pokemon. We're talking Pikachu, Umbreon, Gengar, Meowth, all the evolutions. Like, it's insane. And then too, with it being pretty early still, you can get caught up, somewhat quick. Obviously, the 4 Pikachus are pretty expensive, and we have a new Captain Pikachu that's also expensive. But otherwise, besides that, it's not too bad. There's like 30 Chinese exclusives, maybe like 32, 33 now. I just finished, so very, very excited about that. But yeah, the PSA 10 prices are also starting to go crazy. We'll check the Leafeon here. The Leafeon was at $116, which I think I got mine at $120. And now, I mean, it has sales at $350. So it really depends on if you need the money or not. I am holding my Chinese exclusives long term. I feel like there's no reason why these things can't be extremely expensive, especially if we do not get massive reprints, which if you think about it, they're still trying to get caught up. I mean, they're literally getting their Prismatic Evolution set right now, so I just can't see them going back and reprint everything like crazy, which if they do not reprint them, I think they're just going to go to the moon. But I mean, if you do need the money, it's always a good time to sell a card when it's at its all-time high. Next is from a member at Yeah Chubb. I got a Gengar Prime BGS 8.5 before the reprint. Was this a good buy? So, yeah, normally, reprints do not help a card, but with this market, it definitely makes these cards go crazy. Almost every card that got reprinted did go up in price. I definitely think they're going to retrace. It even shows here it was at $449. Now it's at $321 raw, but you never know. It really depends on condition and everything like that. And PSA 10 is almost at $15,000. But if it were me, that's not a bad pickup. I would definitely hold on to that at least till we get, these reprints and see what it does, just because this market is so crazy. But yeah, definitely a solid pickup and one of the best prime cards we've ever gotten. And Gengar's on the rise right now. Next is from another member at Malcolm Higgins. Hey bud, hope you're doing great. My wife went to the Pokemon Fossil Museum in Chicago recently and got the promo card. It's not a great felt hat Pikachu or anything, but how do you think this promo will do in the future? Probably the rarest card now in my collection, I would imagine. So I believe it's a jumbo card that you got. That, in my opinion, is the only thing that's really going to hurt this card. And then also, it's not like a full art illustration where I like the gray felt hat. But this card is super cool. I'm definitely going to get one. It was at $149. I remember someone selling them at like $80. I almost wanted to buy one. And then it was like $60 and $50. And I'm like, I feel like I might get a little cheaper. And right now it's like $25. Honestly, not a terrible price for this card. But I think it's super cool. And then I love, the fossil Pokemon and stuff like that. I'm a massive dinosaur fan, so I'm super biased. I wish we would get more Pokemon like that. But yeah, super awesome card. All right, next is from another member at Andrew95650. Thank you, guys. What would you do with the PSA 10 Moltres Zapdos Articuno SM210 that you got for $75? Keep in mind, I bought it because I like it. So that's a super cool card to have. I mean, there is a lot of them. That's the only downfall of that card. There's 40,000 in a 10, 24,000 in a 9. It was $200 in December 2025, and right now it's at $450. And, you know, raw, still just slowly going up in price. Last sale's 430, PSA 10, 425, 455. We got a 9 at 179, so it's going to be close to raw. So, in my opinion, if you really enjoy the card and you got it for dirt cheap, you might as well just hold on to it longer. But if you're kind of tight on money and you want to use this money to maybe buy a few other things that could possibly go up in price, like I said before a few questions ago, when a card is at its all-time high or one of its all-time highs, it's a pretty good time to sell. Because I know this thing did boom to 400 before. Let's check the all-time. Yeah, looks like it's at its all-time high. So, not too bad. The card is super special. I just wish there wasn't, 40,000 tens. That is a lot of tens. But when the Pokemon market is booming, 40,000 tens is not a big deal. There's going to be at least 40,000 people that want this card. It's when the market cools off. That's when high pops really, really matter, and these cards will drop pretty quick, in my opinion. But all right, next is from at DMMC8VB. Hey, Beard, would you trade loose, Lost Origin, and Fusion Strike Sleep Booster Packs, 300 equivalent, into 2 Mega Evolution Pokemon Center ETBs? Thanks for the content. Absolutely. That is totally fine. Next is from at Ashley Page. Hey, Beard, is it better long-term investment to sell my Pikachu PSA 10 for a sealed case of Ascended Heroes ETBs? Love the channel. Keep up the great work, and congrats on Baby Beard number 2. Well, I really appreciate that. So that's a tough one. A sealed ETB case of Ascended Heroes would be pretty nice, especially nowadays. I feel like it's getting tougher and tougher to find a sealed case just because I feel like everybody's getting less and less. So that would be a crazy box to own. And then, you got the Pikachu and a PSA 10. I feel like that is one of the best Pikachus we've ever gotten. But again, it's a brand new card. I feel like it's definitely a little overvalued right now. It's worth more than a lot of vintage grails and stuff. Yeah, I feel like I'd be okay with trading for a sealed case of Ascended Heroes ETBs, especially if you're not obsessed with that Pikachu. I feel like that'd be okay. Next is from at Young TYPC. Dear Sir Beard, if you had to pick 2 other PokeTubers to have a fireside chat with, who would it be? What do you want to talk about or learn from them? So that's a super good question. Tough question, but great question. So when I think of like most knowledgeable, definitely TCA Gaming. He also has probably the craziest collection in Pokemon. So that's someone I would definitely want to hang out with and, go see his collection. I've hung out with him for a little bit at the last card party that I went to. But again, we're pretty busy. We don't have actually a ton of time to hang out and chat. And like I said, I want to see his collection, which he did invite me to his house for a party last year. But I had a show, so I had to, miss out on that. So hopefully I can do that soon. Another one is probably PokeRev, because I, watched him for a very long time, especially when he opens up the vintage stuff. That's the stuff I really like, and not as many people were doing that. And he is pretty knowledgeable, and his collection is insane. And I've met him a few times, but I've never actually got to hang out with him. I've actually met pretty much every big PokeTuber, which still blows my mind, because when I started my channel, I legit had 0 subscribers, and Danny Phantom had almost 100,000 subscribers, and now we have almost the same exact amount of subscribers, which is actually insane to me and doesn't make any sense. But that's why I always say, if you guys want to start a channel and you guys have knowledge on something and a passion for it, you might as well try, because you never know what's going to happen. If you work harder than everybody else doing it, it can definitely pay off. Like, I've been on YouTube for 3 years, and I have more YouTube videos on my Pokemon YouTube channel than PokeRev, Leonhardt, people who've been here for 10 years. Like, I see a lot of people, doing like 1 video a day for a year straight, and that's crazy. I did 5 to 10 shorts a day, plus a long form every day for a year and a half straight. Like, I did not mess around. So if you, can actually work hard enough and you have a passion and knowledge for it, you can do anything, and you can make any channel you want. And another couple creators that I'd love to hang out with that I think would be the funnest and they're the most nicest is definitely Real Breaking Nate, and then Danny Phantom. I've actually got to hang out with Danny Phantom a lot, and he's just the nicest guy in the world. It's just crazy. But yeah, really good question. Next is from at Unvaulted Collector. Hello, Mr. Beard. I was wondering what advice you could give to a new channel started on YouTube, such as equipment or video tips to help grow your channel. Well, that kind of goes with what we were just talking about. You just got to go nonstop, always trying to improve too. You should be doing research every single day to improve your sound, your video, all that. So the Shure is the most popular mic, which is honestly kind of confusing to set up. You can definitely go to like Guitar Center, wherever, and, ask a bunch of questions, watch a bunch of videos. And then for camera, there's just so many different cameras you can get nowadays, as long as it does 1080p minimum. Plus, you might as well have it do 4K if you're going to get one. If you do want to upgrade to 4K, you might as well do that. And then from there, you're just going to be pumping out a ton of videos of whatever you're trying to do, improving every time. And then you also have to follow a ton of other channels that do stuff similar and get ideas from them. And then that will start, giving you some new ideas so you can start your own thing. And that's what really helped me. There was really no one doing like a weekly series when I started mine. And now, there's so many channels that do a weekly series, but that's my entire channel. Every single video I do is a series because I love, when you have a new TV show to watch, it's Wednesday night and you got a new show. So I love stuff like that. And that's why I started that, because I felt like no one was doing that. But before all my weekly series, I was trying a little bit of everything, trying a little bit of this, opening some cards here, doing some stuff here, some news, like every time we'd get a new update, I'd run downstairs and make a quick video to try to beat, PTCG Radio or whatever his name is, who just, makes videos about every Poke Beach post. But, I tried a bunch of different things, and then I found, my niche, and I love it, and I actually enjoy, making these videos. And that's the biggest thing, because if you don't enjoy doing the stuff, people can tell when they're watching it, and the quality is going to suffer for sure. But all right, next question is from @Snackbread. Question: I think it's an important one. With the top dogs not great anymore, is it worth doing CGC and Beckett? This could almost be a video itself, I think. So I'm a massive fan of CGC and Beckett. I have like 1,000 CGC graded comic books, and I think Beckett, especially that they updated their labels and stuff, I think that is a great choice. You got to think, if your card is truly mint, I would honestly send it to Beckett every single time before PSA, just to have a chance of getting, a gold 10 or a black label 10, because a black label 10 is life-changing money. A Bubble Mew just sold for $225,000 in a black label. That's life-changing money. For a card that 99.9% of people would have just graded with PSA and never even would have thought about Beckett, because they don't really know much about it. They hear people say, oh, stay away. So if your cards are truly, truly mint, like I'm talking no whitening at all, perfectly centered, maybe a hair off, if that, I would definitely give Beckett a try, especially with their new labels. Like I said, I think they're super clean. They're being a little bit more, advanced with technology and stuff, and, getting the QR codes and all that. So I think Beckett is a great choice. Now, CGC, that is a little tougher in my opinion. I do like a CGC Pristine, but if you get that CGC Basic 10, they are super tough to move, and they always sell less than a PSA 10. So that is definitely a little risky, but it is much easier to get a CGC Pristine 10 than it is probably even a gold Beckett 10, and definitely a black label 10. And those can definitely sell more than PSA. So right now, if your cards are not truly, truly mint, like I am talking truly mint, I would not really be grading your cards right now, especially with all the other companies being so expensive. You just got to be as picky as possible, especially if you are trying different companies, CGC and Beckett. You do not want a bunch of basic CGC, 10s and 9s and stuff, and, Beckett 9s, because they're impossible to sell. You really got to throw them up on eBay and hope like a big mystery box guy comes and buys them or something. Because I see people walk around the show all day long trying to move those things, and no one wants them. So if I had to choose, though, between CGC and BGS, I'd probably go BGS, just because you have the chance of hitting a black label. Next is at T-Poke-Polls. I have a trade offer and would love to know your thoughts. I have a CGC 10 Gem Mint Mario Pikachu full art, and I was offered to trade for a Bubble Mew and Pikachu, both PSA 10s plus 7,500 cash. My concern is Bubble Mew seems to be pumped because of the black label sales, and I think the Pikachu will drop in price once PSA catches up and a ton of them hit the market. Any insight is appreciated. So I also agree with that. I do think the Bubble Mew is a little overpriced right now, and I do feel like the Pikachu will drop. I do wish you had a PSA 10 of the Mario Pikachu, because then I would definitely say keep that for sure. But being the CGC Gem Mint 10, that's tough. It also really depends. You need money. $7,500 is a lot of cash, and you could buy a lot of different things with that could definitely gain a ton of value. But I just think the Mario Pikachu card is just so much rarer than the Bubble Mew and the Pikachu. So I personally would probably just keep the Mario Pikachu. But again, I don't know exactly your situation if you would need that money, because that is a nice chunk of money. You're getting two crazy cards that a lot of people would probably even like more than the Mario Pikachu if they didn't know the values. Yeah, that's such a tough one. And that's honestly the main reason why I always want to have more than one copy of a card. I know obviously with the Mario Pikachu, easier said than done. But when I just have one card of something, I can never trade it away. Like I physically cannot, my body will not let me do it. So yeah, tough one. Let me know what you do. Next is from @Jerky420. What does better at your shows from singles to slabs? I've recently started vending and tend to stay away from other languages and lightly played, moderately played cards unless they are ultra popular cards. Nines haven't done well for me either. Singles, English or other languages, near mint, lightly played or moderately played. Slabs, 10s or 9s, English or other languages. So since I have a lot of kids come to my table, more than probably the average table, just because, I'm making videos and stuff and kind of what I'm known for, I always really focus on raw cards. And I like to have cards literally, in my binders, it's always like cards that are, $2 or $3 to $15 or $20. And then I have my $1 binder. And then in the case, it's always cards that are $20 and up, because I always got kids coming in and they want, these $300, $400, $500 cards. So I like to have, $20, $30 cards in there. But no joke, even if we didn't have, a bunch of kids coming to the table, cards that are like $25 to like $100 sell the most for me. Those are the cards I cannot keep in stock, because that's what the average person is buying. The average person isn't dropping, $3,000 on a card. And then for PSA slabs or graded cards, I really try to just stick with PSA and PSA 10s. If it's vintage, I will grab some 9s, maybe even an 8 here and there. And then for other languages, I really only stick to exclusives, Chinese exclusives, which I just keep everyone that I buy anyways, and Japanese exclusives. That just makes it, a lot easier. In your case, it's a little bit more unique. Maybe like some vintage grails in Japanese. Like I'm talking like Charizard and stuff like that. That'd be kind of cool. And then price-wise for slabs, I always try to find affordable slabs. I love slabs that are around $100, because a lot of people, that's going to be their first slab, is going to be around that $100 price range. So in my opinion, the sweet spot for raw cards is $25 to maybe like $150. And then, of course, you want your couple rows of your nice higher-end cards for the people that do want to spend the big bucks. And then for graded cards, PSA 10s pretty much only. And that'd be around $75 to around $500 is what I really try to focus on. And then, of course, you're going to pick up a few slabs here and there that are going to be more expensive, that take a little bit longer to sell, but it does make your case look a lot nicer and you have more variety. But yeah, I just really try to focus on, the affordable stuff. And what I've noticed is almost every single show, I pretty much run out of cards. If I have a show where I do not get to buy a lot, kind of depends on your location, or you just don't get a lot of good offers, at the end of the show, I'm like almost out of cards. But when I see other people, they got a bunch of super high-end slabs. They'll maybe sell a few slabs here and there. And, they always come to me, oh, I made $10,000 today. It's like, yeah, but how much money did you put into those cards? How much did you actually profit? Because that's the big thing that people don't really think about. And then, yeah, nowadays, too, it's getting tougher and tougher to buy collections, just because you have all these whatnot people that overcharge everybody, so they can go around, paying 90, 95, or even 100% of market. So, it just sucks when I want to pay like 80% and then trade at 85%. And then for kids, I trade at 100%. But there's still a lot of people, that do 70, 75. I had the Vaporeon, Flareon, and Jolteon boxes that just did not fit in my totes, and I didn't want to take them with me. So I wanted to go trade them off for some cards. And first guy offered me 70% on very nice boxes. I was like, no, I'm good. Someone offered me 75, someone offered me 80, and then a fan of the channel offered me 90, and, I gladly took that, because he actually had a ton of steel too, so it worked out perfectly. But there's still people out there only offering 70%, so just make sure you look around and shop and at least get 80, 85%. Right, next question is from Matt. Napster Man, congrats on baby number 2. Thank you. How do you store your cards? Sleeved versus top-loaded versus slabs, etc.? 97% of my collection is just in binders. I get the Dragon Shield clear sleeves. They're very nice, thick sleeves. You can, basically play the game with them. And I put those in the binder, just regular binders, not even top-loader binders. And, just make sure they're zip-up binders, and you're good to go. I mean, that's pretty much all you really need, unless you plan on like whipping your binders around or anything like that. Next is from Polly FPL. If you could invest in only one thing, would you put everything into raw single cards or steel products? So if I didn't really care like about the actual cards themselves, like if I wasn't a collector, I would definitely just do steel products. It's just easiest. You don't have to worry about them going down in price so much. But again, if you choose the right single cards and you go all out with them, you could definitely make way more money than steel products. If you would have bought, the Mario Pikachu when it was dirt cheap, and you bought, 100 of them, you'd be beating every single steel product there is. Even like promos, like let's say the Snorlax or like the Pink Mew EX. That was a $2 or $3 card that is now almost $100 card. You know, that's crazy gains. And I know only buying one, not that much money. But if you buy 100, 200, 300 of them, then, you know, you could definitely make a ton of money. But again, that's riskier. Really depends on the market. You kind of got to know a lot about Pokemon and kind of figure out which ones to buy. To where sealed products is just much easier if you can find them at MSRP. But if it were me actually, and I did care about Pokemon just like I do, I would always do cards just because I appreciate the cards more than the sealed products. But I do love the sealed products because it makes me feel like I'm in a card shop. And especially growing up, I was never really able to afford booster boxes. It's just like a pack here and there. So the fact that I have booster boxes that I can open at any time, I just love it. Next question is from the Ben Egg. I went to COLLECTR recently and got my first ever PSA 10 slab via trading in some loose cards. When I got home, I was further admiring and examining the card when I realized there's a beard hair inside of the slab with the card. I'm not really sure what to do because it is somewhat noticeable. Luckily, it is on the back side of the card. Do you think long term this will affect the value of the card? I got the Gardevoir from Scarlet and Violet base in a 10. So you'll definitely have to take a little bit of a hit if you go to sell it. Even though I'm sure most people wouldn't even really notice it. Some people probably wouldn't even care. You can send it into PSA and get a new slab, but that can take a very long time, especially with PSA now. You never even know. But that really, really sucks. And last on the list is from Blake Weed King. Hey Beard, congrats on the baby. Question, I have 93 booster boxes of Destined Rivals. Wow. I bought all of them because I thought it would likely pay for an acreage in the future. Would you sell some now or wait to take profit? With it being the best booster box from Scarlet and Violet, I am tempted to continue holding. Thoughts, keep up the great content. So if you have that many, really depends on what you paid for them too. I'm not sure. Because if you paid, like, let's say $300, you're only up, a couple $100 a box. So that's not that much. I personally would probably hold on to them. I would probably wait until it's honestly out of print before I even think about selling any of them. If you need the money, you could sell a handful of them. If you need it for something or fix this or, new water heater for the house, whatever it is, you could sell off a few, maybe get down to like 75 boxes. But I would try to hold as long as you possibly can. But all right, that was this week's Pokemon What If Wednesday. If you guys like this content, want to stay ahead of the market, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like and comment. If you guys want to support more, check out my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube membership, all that. You guys know what to do. You guys are the absolute best. But all right, I want you guys to have a great day. And if you guys want to watch my newest vending video, you can click the one above. Otherwise, I have an entire playlist full of all my other vending videos if you guys want to check those out. But all right, we'll see you next time.